Some places aren't meant to be lived in. They're meant to be passed by, looked at from a distance, and forgotten. He didn't have that choice. By the time he reached the coast, he wasn't looking for something better, just something that would keep him out of the wind. That's when he saw it. A lighthouse. Old, standing alone, with no one around. It wasn't a home, it wasn't safe, but it was the only thing still standing. He walked closer, not because he trusted it, but because there was nowhere else to go. And when he stepped inside, he realized something simple. If he wanted to survive here, he would have to use this place in a way it was never meant to be used. He didn't rush. From a distance, the lighthouse looked solid. Up close, it told a different story. The paint was peeling. Metal rusted near the top. The door at the bottom, old but still standing. He stopped a few steps away. Listened first. Only the wind, and the sound of waves below. No voices, no movement. He reached for the door and pushed it slowly. It opened without resistance. Inside, the air felt colder, thick, like the place had been closed for a long time. A narrow staircase circled upward, stone walls, damp in places, nothing welcoming. He stepped in anyway, not exploring, just checking. Step by step, keeping one hand near the wall, looking for anything useful. At the base, there wasn't much. Dust, old marks, nothing he could use. But staying at the bottom wouldn't help him. He looked up. Light was coming from above, faint but enough. He started climbing, slowly. The higher he went, the more the wind could be heard outside, stronger. When he reached the top, he stopped. The room was small. Glass around, the sea in every direction. And in the center, an old metal frame where the light once stood. It didn't work anymore, but the space was dry, protected, out of the wind. He stood there for a moment, just feeling it. Not safe, not comfortable, but better than outside. He looked around again, then back at the stairs. He understood something simple. This place could protect him from the night, but nothing more. No food, no water. And by morning, that would be the real problem. He didn't stay at the top for long. Being out of the wind helped, but it didn't solve anything. He went back down the stairs, slower this time, watching the walls, the floor, every corner. At the base, near the door, he stopped. There was a metal hook on the wall, old rope tied to it, dry but still strong. He pulled it gently. It held. He took it off. That was the first useful thing he found. He stepped outside again. The wind hit immediately, stronger now than before. He looked around the ground near the lighthouse. Rock, dry grass, nothing to eat. He walked along the edge of the hill, keeping the lighthouse behind him. Down below, the water moved against the rocks. Too rough, not safe to climb down there. He kept looking. Then he saw it, a narrow dip in the land, slightly greener than the rest. He went that way, careful with each step. Between the rocks, a small trickle of water. Not much, but moving. He crouched, watched it for a moment. Clear enough. He used his hands first, took a few sips. Cold. That helped. He stayed there, looking around that spot. No plants worth eating, no easy food, just water. He stood up and looked back at the lighthouse. Now it was different, not just a place to hide, a point he had to return to, because everything else was spread out. He went back up before the light changed,
Inside again, he placed the rope near the wall. Sat down for a moment, not resting, just thinking. Water was solved. For now. Food wasn't. And without it, he wouldn't last long. He looked at the rope again, then at the door. Tomorrow, he wouldn't just walk around. He would have to find a way to catch something, or trade, or take a risk. Because staying alive here wouldn't depend on the lighthouse. It would depend on what he did outside it.
He didn't wait until later. He took the rope and went back down. Same place, the water, the rocks. This time, he wasn't just looking. He searched along the edges, closer to where the water slowed. Then he saw movement. Small fish, close to the surface. Not many, but enough. He didn't rush, used the rope, looped it around a thin branch, made it simple, not perfect, just something that could work. He stepped into the shallow edge, slowly, not to scare them away. Waited, watched. One came closer. He moved once, quick, controlled. It wasn't clean, but it worked. He stood there a second, holding it, not smiling, not surprised, just focused. Food. He went back up immediately. Inside the lighthouse, he used what he had. Small fire, careful, nothing wasted. When it was done, he ate slowly. Stopped before finishing, saved the rest. Because now he understood, finding food once wasn't enough. He would have to do it again. He didn't stay still after that. The next morning, he went back down again. Same place, same water. This time, nothing. No movement, no fish near the edge. He waited longer. Still, nothing. He stepped back, looked around again. If food came and went, he had to understand when. He stayed low, watching the water from a distance. Time passed. Then he saw it. Further out, a small boat. Not close, but not too far either. It moved slowly along the coast, then stopped. He didn't move right away, just watched. Then he turned, ran back up to the lighthouse. Inside, he looked around quickly. Cloth, a metal piece. He took both. Back outside, he climbed halfway up the tower, high enough to be seen. He tied the cloth to the metal, held it out into the wind, not waving wildly, just steady, clear. He didn't know if they would see him, but staying quiet wouldn't change anything. So he stood there, holding it in place, waiting. Because now, food wasn't just about catching something. It was about being seen. He didn't lower the cloth. Not yet. The boat stayed in place for a moment, then shifted slightly. Not closer, but not leaving either. He kept it steady. A few more seconds. Then the engine sound changed. It was moving. This time, toward the shore. He climbed down quickly, but didn't run forward. Stayed near the base of the lighthouse. Let them come. The boat got close enough to stop in the shallows. One man stepped out. Older, careful with his footing. He looked at the boy first, then at the lighthouse, then back again. No questions right away, just a nod. The boy pointed down toward the water, then back up at the tower. Simple. He could show more than explain. They walked together, down to the edge. The boy showed where the water ran calmer, where things moved, where he had been trying. The man watched, then reached into the boat, a small container, a net. He handed the net over, not as a gift, as something to use. The boy took it, nodded once, because he understood this wasn't help for nothing. It was a start. The man went back to the boat, didn't stay, didn't ask anything else. The engine started again, and soon it was just water and and wind. The boy stood there a moment, then looked down at the net in his hands. Now he had a better way to find food. He didn't wait. The next morning he went straight back down, this time with the net. Same water, different approach. He moved slower, stayed lower, let the water settle, then placed the net where the current narrowed. Not guessing anymore, watching, timing it. A few minutes passed. Then, movement. He pulled once, 2 small fish. Enough. He didn't react, just reset it again, because now he understood how this worked. Back at the lighthouse, everything had a place. The net, the rope, the fire. Nothing wasted, nothing rushed. Later, he went up the tower again, not to signal, just to look. The same coast, the same road of water. But this time, he wasn't hoping to be seen. He was checking the day, planning it, because now he wasn't just surviving one moment. He was starting to manage the next.
Days passed.
Not easier, just more steady. He stopped looking for something better and started using what was already there. The water below, the net, the fire. Each day followed the same pattern, not because he had no choice, but because it worked. The lighthouse didn't change. The wind was still strong. The walls were still cold. But inside it, things became organized. The rope had its place. The net dried near the wall. The fire started faster each time. Small things, but they mattered. One evening he climbed to the top again. Not to search, not to signal, just to look. The sea moved the same way. The horizon didn't change. But this time, he wasn't thinking about leaving. He stood there longer than before, then slowly looked back inside. At the stairs, at the space, at the place that once meant nothing to him. And now, it meant one simple thing. He could stay. Not because it was easy, but because he had figured out how to live there. And sometimes, that's enough to begin again. If this story stayed with you, subscribe, leave a like, and tell me in the comments, would you stay here or keep moving?